Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. We often take for granted the people and places in our local communities. That's for the tourists, we'll say, when in fact the businesses and attractions that make up our communities are, in more ways than one, vital to visitors and locals alike. As a premier youth development organization, 4-H wants kids to get to know their neighbors and what it means to be part of a community. A recent tour of agricultural business gave 4-Hers both an insider's view and a glimpse into the future. Here's Keith Silva with our story.
It's said, seeing is believing, but tasting is proof. The 4-Hers taking part in this Taste of Vermont tour are sampling some of the local fare from Chittenden and Addison counties,
learned how to do a mail order business,
while learning what it takes to make that food and bring it to market.
We're going on some farm tours, learning about different careers in agriculture that you wouldn't typically think of.
It's interesting to learn about other people and what they do.
I love food, and I think getting to know where you live is really important.
They're all going to be great. So.
Wendy Sorrell is the UVM Extension 4-H livestock educator. She organized the tour.
I think there's a lot of times people don't know what happens within their own state, within their own county, within their own town. So what we try and do is get them out and about to show them. And so you have to start somewhere. So let's bring them to those farms, show them where their food is grown, show them a possible career that they could explore and possibly do in the future. And let them just taste what's being produced.
Along with the food, Sorrell wants these 4-Hers to get a taste for careers in agriculture that aren't tied to production or what these young people may be used to on their home farms.
It's good to get out and see what else can be done on the farm. So maybe, we can show a different aspect of something that can be done on their farm, and they can go back and explore that.
Good to learn about other things other than where I am, so I have more perspective and I can learn more about what I can do when I grow up or want to start a career.
The first stop was Shelburne Farms. The 4-Hers learned about cheese making and tasted the difference between different ages of cheese.
This is a year, this is 2 year, and this is smoked.
Susie Marchand works at Shelburne Farms as an agricultural education coordinator. In her job, she answers questions from visitors about agriculture and often about where food comes from. Catherine Whipple can relate. She's had similar experiences talking with the general public when showing her 4-H animals at fairs and field days.
I have beef animals, so that's what I do, and just at the fair talking to the public, and they don't know where their milk comes from. And to me, it's really important. I've always known where my food comes from, and I just can't imagine not knowing, but then it's so eye-opening, and it's so amazing to see people connect the pieces together and realize that this is what makes up your food.
Talking with the public and educating them about agriculture has allowed Whipple to develop lifelong skills that go beyond her 4-H experiences caring for animals.
I never considered myself a public speaker, but I fell in love with it. I love talking to people about my animals. It's my favorite thing to do. I'll get the same question 10 times a day while at the fair, and everybody has a different response to the answer, and it's just so interesting to see how eye-opening it can be for them.
Another stop on the tour was at Sweet Roots Berry Farm, formerly the Charlotte Berry Farm, where co-owner Jane McLean talked with the 4-Hers about the history of the land and her family's approach to farming and growing food.
We offer a CSA called Community Pick.
After hearing from McLean, the 4-Hers got a first-hand experience picking blueberries, a tasty way to prove the merits of the 4-H model of hands-on learning.
I used to live in New Hampshire, so I did picking around there, so getting to do it in Vermont is a new experience. my dad's family grew up here, and being able to kind of learn what it was like to be around here and learning the history is really important because it gives them a sense of community and responsibility and being with friends and doing things to help better the earth.
We have a small, a medium, and a large.
Sam Cutting, the owner of Dakin Farm, brought the group through the business's packing and shipping facility that processes millions of dollars in orders every year.
It's just so interesting to see like the inside view, like what they do on the daily to make it look and run like it does.
And we're quite unique in the fact that we do it.
Learning the ins and outs of Vermont agriculture, one business, one career, and one piece of cheese at a time. In Ferrisburg, I'm Keith Silver with Across the Fence.
And we don't try to do everything.
Thanks, Keith. And now I'm joined by one of the organizers of that tour, UVM Extension 4-H Livestock Specialist Wendy Sorel. And I'd have to say I'm a little jealous of these 4-H'ers, Wendy. What a great way to spend a summer day visiting farms and talking with farmers. It's awesome.
It was fabulous, Fran, and I want to just recognize Liz Kenton, who's the Youth Agricultural Project Coordinator, who was my partner on this endeavor. We really had a good time.
So, and we only showed some of the stops in the video. What other businesses did you visit?
We actually stopped at Champlain Valley Apiaries, which is a third-generation beekeeping business by the Mraz family, and that was founded in 1931. When we were done that tour, we were actually gifted with some honey. We stopped at Rosie's Restaurant and had our lunch where the youth got to order their lunch from the menu, interact with the wait staff, and it's a great restaurant in Middlebury. If you haven't ever been there, you should.
Yeah.
And then our last stop was Monument Farms, which was founded in 1930 by the James family.
Wow, and has some of the best chocolate milk anywhere, right?
That's what I'm told, and we had it for lunch and we had it after our tour of the farm.
Great. So which farm made the biggest impression on the 4-H'ers?
I don't think that either area or stop was a favorite because they're so unique and different. Shelburne Farms, they make their own cheese from their brown Swiss milk, and we got to taste, 4 different types of cheese. Sweet Root Farms, is transitioning into an organic farm, and we enjoyed eating and their blueberries that we actually got to pick. Dakin Farms with their shipping department, that was a unique tour.
Right.
We had ham and cheese to taste after that. And as I mentioned, Champlain Valley Apiaries and their gifting of honey, and these local businesses are just incredible in their gifting. And then Monument Farms, as we said, was the best milk around according to the group. Locally produced that we got to try and consume is the best support for our local farmers that we could do.
Absolutely. And we often hear about young people. We want them to stay in Vermont instead of going out of state for school or careers. How does 4-H, do you think, contribute to keeping kids in Vermont?
Well, I remember back in 1985 when I went on my 4-H exchange and I lived with 16 families. They said the one thing that I brought to them was they never saw their local businesses and attractions because they just never made time for it. And in sharing that with me, they got out and about and saw what was in their area. So I took that to heart. And here in Vermont, with Liz and I organizing this tour, it's important to show youth what we have for businesses here in Vermont. And we've been doing this for a few years, but this is our first foodie tour. And I think what we saw was kind of a surprise for some of the youth. You don't realize what's there here in Vermont until you get out and about. Right. And one of the things I always ask the owners, because we're doing career exploration is, tell the youth what you wish you had known when they started what they now know.
Right, really great, and so diverse, all of these different kinds of jobs that they're being introduced to. And one of the young women in the video talked about how she's learned to be a public speaker since becoming a 4-H'er. Just talk about that piece, how it encourages kids really to be able to speak in public, which is a wonderful skill.
Well, as she said in the video, she started immediately talking about her beef cattle project. When you start and you're talking about something that you love and what you love to do, that makes it a little bit easier. So that's the first opportunity that they might have to interact and do public speaking, is by answering questions, of the public in that format, whether it's at a show or a clinic or a contest that might be participating in. We have several non-competitive and competitive opportunities through that public speaking. They might MC a contest, or they might decide, how they want to speak according to their comfort level. They might do reasons and dairy judging, and that they're talking in front of two people that they don't know, and then that might expand. And then they get to do an interview in Across the Fence. Yeah. That's exciting.
Right. There you go. And what are some of the other life skills that is developed for young people in 4-H?
So there's a whole life skills, what we call a life skills wheel, and it's what we target when we're teaching youth in the 4-H projects. And it's, of course, your hands, your head, your heart, and your health. And each one of those have additional life skills with them. It might be teamwork and marketable skills, self-esteem, empathy, concern for others, record keeping, service learning, and goal setting. Because what we're focusing on is those life skills, and we may do it through the projects that they love. So it's kind of intentional but unintentional, and they may not ever show a dairy cow again or a horse, but these life skills like record keeping and marketable skills, and those that I mentioned, are certainly skills that they're going to need and use in the future.
We're just about out of time, but of course, now as the Vermont Fairs and Field Days are happening, they're drawing to a close. The pandemic interrupted a lot of the 4-H livestock programs. Has it bounced back? Has 4-H bounced back?
I don't know if bounce back is the word, but we're slowly getting there, and we're excited to have our face-to-face activities again. We did a lot of things over the computer virtually, but we're certainly happy to have the youth back to the events that are physical.
Right, and they're so good. They go to national competitions. This is serious stuff, and they're very good at it.
Absolutely.
Wendy,
they're starting.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry we are out of time, but I know that they're going to continue to do us proud. If you would like to get your children or grandchildren involved in Vermont 4-H, or if you would like to volunteer or to volunteer yourself for 4-H, you can go to this website, uvm.edu/extension/youth. Our thanks again to Wendy for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.